Well, it is one of the closest congressional races. It could determine who controls Congress. Democrat Derek Tran looking to unseat Orange County Republican Congresswoman Michel Steel in California's 45th district. That district includes Buena Park, Cerritos, Cypress, and more. Also, Artesia. Derek Tran is here now in studio. Welcome. Thanks for coming in. We offered Michel Steel the opportunity to debate you live on the air. She declined that opportunity, just like she declined our opportunity to debate Jay Chen, who she ran against 2 years ago, and she has declined our interview opportunities in the past. But we're grateful that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk, for people that are trying to get to know who you are, a little bit about your story.
Yeah, 100%. First and foremost, I'm a father of 3. I have an amazing wife. We own a small pharmacy in Anaheim, brick and mortar. You know, my parents were refugees that came here from Vietnam. And growing up, I just always had this deep appreciation for this country. And at 18, I enlisted in the military, Army Reserves, to give back to my country. And from there, I got activated in 2003 with a unit stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia. And then went to law school, dedicated my practice to representing employees who were discriminated at the workplace. And then now with this run, it's really my way of continuing to give back to country and community.
I mean, all the polls show that this race is essentially tied right now, and it's one of several races in California that will likely determine whether there's a Democratic House or a Republican House. What is the biggest difference between a Democratic House and a Republican House for voters out there?
Look, I think that's a great question, and we can just look at the record of a Republican-controlled House. What we've seen is that they have been ineffective at governing. They're probably one of the most ineffective Congresses in the last century, right, this last class. And, you know, we're not getting any bills, any funding, any opportunities that's being brought back to our district. And that's something that the Democrats can deliver on once we get control of the House again.
Let's go through some issues, sort of rapid fire. On abortion, should Roe v. Wade be codified?
100%.
So that would essentially be a national right to an abortion, something Michel Steel is against.
Correct. She signed up for Life at Conception, which is the national ban on abortion, without any exception, whether it be rape, incest, or the life of the mother.
She signed up for that and then took her name off of that, changing her position on that, and we'd love an opportunity to talk to her more about that. Other big issues, immigration. What do we do about what's happening at the border?
Look, it starts with making sure we take action on the border issues. That's an important issue for the people of my district. They brought it up to me time and time again. But what's important here is that the Republican-controlled House isn't taking up this issue. There's a bipartisan bill that the Senate is ready to go on, and the President Biden's ready to sign. But House Republicans don't want to take it up.
You'd vote for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And cost of living? Most people say that's issue number one. How do you make life cheaper for people living in Orange and LA counties?
Look, we need more legislation like inflation reduction, capping insulin costs at $35. That's a start. We need to continue to go after mega corporations that, you know, I call it greedflation, who takes advantage of the consumers. That is something that you hear VP Harris campaign about. That's something that's very real. So I support a free and open market, very competitive, and we need more of that.
This district is a majority-minority district. It's 40% Asian.
Yes.
There's different Asian populations in it. The biggest one, though, is Vietnamese. Right. Your parents, Vietnamese immigrants. There was a controversy where Michel Steel's team is criticizing you for saying that you spoke fluent Vietnamese, and then you've struggled to do that. You want to answer that?
Sure. I mean, look, these are baseless accusations from someone who doesn't even want to show up to defend her claims against me. I grew up with Vietnamese as my first language. That's the language I spoke until I was 18, and I enlisted in the military and left my house. So I can speak Vietnamese.
What is, you think, the biggest difference, especially for Asian voters in this district, that they're looking for in a member of Congress?
Look, I think at the end of the day, just like any other voters out there, they want a representative that's going to really work for them, bring back opportunities and funding for them. That's not what we're seeing with Michel Steel. You know, she voted against so many of the great legislation that was passed with Biden and Harris in their first year. You know, bipartisan infrastructure, CHIPS Acts, inflation reduction. But more importantly, what the voters want is a representative that doesn't have corruption tied to them, like Michel Steel. You know, they want someone that's really going to be there for them, that actually shows up.
Derek Tran running in the 45th District. Ballots are already out, so people have an opportunity to vote right now. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your views.
Thank you so
really
much.
appreciate it.